So, Lord and Miller, you worked with them on the Spider-Verse. How is it composing for a comedy series?
Well, like everything they do, it's always that extra. They always go the extra mile, which is amazing, but a complete nightmare when you're a composer. Like Chris phoned me up and he's like, "Hey, we're making a murder mystery show." I'm like, "Great, that sounds fun. Can you write a murder mystery theme?" "Yeah, I'll do that." And then it's like, "Oh yeah, by the way, there's 10 different film genres within this show." So I had to, if you see the show, it's an amazing series, but each character has their own backstory, which is told through a different film genre. There's like an action film, there's a rom-com, there's a thriller, there's a David Lynch art house movie, there's an animation. And then they're like, oh yeah, and also there's other things in, like there's a Hungry Hungry Hippos movie that's like a 3-second gag. Can you write that?
You wrote a song for that.
Well, I have this little thing that goes, hungry, hungry hippos. It's only in for 2 seconds. And it's like a 2-second gag. Then they're like, oh, can you write some music that sounds like Hall & Oates, but doesn't sound too legally like Hall & Oates, so I don't get sued? And they're like, oh, yeah, we've got a musical episode, so can you just produce all the songs for that as well? And so it was like a huge, huge amount of work. But like, I love the fact that everything they do, they just push it like further than anyone else. It's always like, how far can we push a like 30, 40-minute TV show to be the most extreme, like taking in everything that you can do?
So, how did you get in the mindset of every genre? You had a process.
Yeah, I mean, like you only saw two of the genres here. You saw like rom-com, which is a neat story, and Chelsea, which is like a kind of Bernard Herrmann, David Fincher thriller, because they're the ones that work best with the orchestra. But it's really fascinating because you try to work out what makes a genre. Like, is there a musical language that makes something feel like genre? And trying to, like with Brett's episode, which is this action one, we just like Chris kind of went for this kind of like more John Wick aesthetic. So I thought, okay, we'll do it more like that, and it's like rock guitars and more band based. But the weird thing is, I always like trying to make music that doesn't feel like what you'd expect. But in this case, when I was doing the genre films, I had to do exactly what you'd expect to like sell those ideas. And then around that, we have the kind of what we call the kind of murder mystery world, which is a lot of the stuff you're hearing, which is like, I love having things where you have a strong theme that you can then use throughout the series, and then it all pays off at the end. We didn't play the clip where we reveal the killer because that would be a bit mean to those people who haven't seen the show, but it's a great show. Apple Plus, go watch it.
So, tell us about switching gears to Strange Game, the Mick Jagger song. How did you pair up with him? You've written for other artists before, Iggy Pop, Danger Mouse, Celeste. Tell
Yeah,
us
I
about
mean,
this partnership with Mick.
that was quite weird. So for Slow Horses, I'd sort of tried to develop this very, like the show is about these sort of like quite crap spies. So I tried to create this sound world that was very wonky and disjointed for them. And that's Gary Oldman's team. And they're these kind of loser people who get shunted out of MI5. And then there's a slick MI5 world, which is all very electronic and very slick. So I always wanted to do a song for the theme tune based on like the kind of the themes and the sound. And we, chatted to the director, and we wanted a kind of British voice. And he, said, oh, his favorite choice was Mick Jagger. And I was like, yeah, great idea. Well,
This is the first TV show that he's penned a tune for, I believe.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I was like, there's no way we'll ever get Mick Jagger. Like, I'm always like, let's not even bother. But we had a really good music supervisor on the series called Catherine Greaves. And she's like, well, I know someone who like has a connection. And so they did some emailing, messaging, phone calls. And then we kind of got, Mick might be interested. I was like, yeah, I never get excited by things. And then I sent him the track that I'd written, like the kind of early bones of it. And he's like, yeah, Mick's really interested now. Can you do a Zoom with Mick? And so I then end up super surreal on a Zoom call with Mick Jagger in front of this ginormous painting in his house. And we're just chatting for like half an hour. And by the end of it, next day I get an email saying Mick wants to do the song. And it was amazing. It's like one of those things I still cannot really believe has happened, like co-writing a song with Mick Jagger. But he was absolutely amazing to work with. Like, you go into these situations, you never know what, people of that stature are going to be like, because he's earned the right to be, you know, behave in whatever manner he wants. But he was absolutely brilliant. Like, he'd read the books, and so he was really familiar with the stories and the characters. And we sort of talked about what I wanted from the song and what the director wanted. And he's like probably one of the best people I've ever worked with, just from lyrics, just in like, okay, we're going to pinpoint this idea really quickly. So he wrote the first verse, it's the first thing you hear. Then he improvised a bunch. I just said, improvise some more stuff, and I'll work something out to turn it into a song. So he started throwing some things around. And then I was like, Strange Game. He just sang this line. I was like, that's the title. You get these moments where you're like, oh my God, that's it. So I then grabbed that, sort of repeated it a few times, and I was like, this is great. We got it. And he's like, no, it's not good enough. Let me re-sing it. Let's rewrite it. And we just kept going backwards and forwards. And it was a super surreal. It's still very weird that this has happened, but he's like amazing. He sounds amazing, and he sounds like Mick Jagger. And I'll have like half-hour phone conversations with him, and I'll be like, this is really weird. I'm chatting to Mick Jagger, and he sounds like kind of like what you'd imagine a Mick Jagger impersonator sound like, but it's Mick Jagger. But yeah, he was, it was a brilliant person, and it really works for the show. We open the show I don't know if you've seen the series, big reveal at the end, and all the lyrics. The thing about it is, it's not just a song by a well-known artist. Like, lyrically, it tells the whole story of the series in like 30 seconds, which is amazing. And it does that at the end of the show as well. And all the themes from that title theme are throughout the episode as well. So the whole thing, it all links up, which I like doing, rather than just here's a song that has nothing to do with anything else.
It's such a great bluesy retro throwback to, which is totally Mick.
Yeah, actually, one more thing that's kind of interesting. Because I try to keep it very lo-fi. This song was actually recorded, like the guitar, no joke, on a 15-pound microphone. Oh, wow. On my guitar, and it just had a really good kind of like slightly lo-fi, crappy sound, which sounds kind of cool.
So you're gonna take us out here. You're gonna introduce.
Yeah, we're gonna try and play this live now. So I think we're gonna set up. So let's see how this goes.